What will summer be without double HP? The devastating news of the Motswako artist's death is still sinking in. Artists and musos from around the world have sent their tributes and expressions of grief. Besides his contributions to hip-hop, Double HP spoke openly about his battle with depression. So how do we quantify the impact, South Africa, of losing another major musician, this time to mental illness, if that is the case? To discuss this, we have clinical psychologist from the South African Depression and Anxiety Groups, Charity Mkone, and top music producer and musician Sello, Chicco, Twala. Thank you both for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
Good evening.
You knew him well?
I knew HHP from 1997. I actually discovered him. He was introduced to me by Bishop Lekganya and his son. They started a group called Verbal Assassin. I recorded them, and unfortunately, the single didn't do well. And I advised him that the reason he didn't do well is because they were actually rapping in English, and I advised him to rap in Setswana. And as you'll know, all of his hits are in Setswana.
Yeah. So he really opened up a whole new world.
Yes, and a lot of young artists, I mean, from Mafike in the Northwest, Casper, and many more, they're rapping in Setswana. And I think he's a trendsetter. I think he's one of the artists who said, you know, hip-hop you can rap in vernac and be successful. And he did exactly that.
So he was known in South Africa. He was known abroad for his musical talent, obviously, but he was also known for his depression. He was quite honest about it. Tell me what you saw in him as somebody who knows this mental illness.
I think as tragic as his loss is, it just attests to the fact that depression is a real mental illness, and that if it goes untreated or if the treatment is not effective, then it does, unfortunately, and I'm assuming at this point that the cause of his death is unknown, but I think it just reiterates the fact that if depression goes untreated, it does unfortunately lead to suicide or sometimes people ending their life, and that it is a real illness, that people who battle with depression, it is actually a real illness that can be treated effectively, and a person can live with depression. And I think his honesty about his battle and his emotions with depression just also highlighted the fact that it does not discriminate. So you can be famous, you can be well known, that depression is an illness that does not discriminate, and it's something that can have dire circumstances if it is not treated.
What did he say about his depression to you?
Well, I think my encounter with him in the studio about 3 years back, we were doing the remake of Peace song. He did indicate that no, there are a lot of wrong things in the industry that he was not happy with. He mentioned a lot of things like, you know, we work in an industry where we don't take care of one another. I don't think he meant himself at the time, but I think the situation in South Africa with artists like HHP, you find that they do well, and then there are times where, you know, maybe you find that promoters and all that go for other, artists and not booking them and all that. A lot of things, but obviously I think our sector needs transformation. I think this is a lesson to the Minister of Arts and Culture. This is one industry that needs transformation. We have institutions like Tsambo, collecting societies that collect a lot of money, lots of money. I think with this money can be used to empower artists that are not doing well. We really need to visit our sector, but I really want to appeal to the Minister to really come up with a solution. We need a charter. We need a charter. We need transformation in our music sector.
I can imagine that you feel devastated as well. I mean,
no, definitely.
I don't even know if it's real for you yet, that this has happened.
Yes, definitely. I mean, to lose him like that, to be honest, I'm 100% sure that the industry contributed for him to actually, it contributed for him to be so depressed, definitely.
Did it make a difference, him being so well known, being such a celebrity and talking about it? Do you think he changed the way people thought? Because there is in certain communities, or many communities, there's such a stigma around this, isn't there?
I certainly do think that it did, but the tricky thing with depression, like I mentioned, that it is an illness, is that for the person who is going through the depression and the sufferer of the depression, life seems absolutely bleak. So I always explain it in that when someone is going through depression or is diagnosed with depression, it's like seeing life through dark-colored glasses. And when other people from the outside perceive the sufferer of depression or someone who has depression and sees everything that's going on for them and perceive their lives as going well, it becomes quite hard, even for the person, to feel like it's okay for them to feel how they feel, which is the notion of sadness, or the deep, overwhelming sadness that characterizes depression. And in most cases, because there's a dissonance between what the person is feeling inside and what the illness causes them to feel, and what is going on outside or externally and what others view, it becomes very difficult for someone who is struggling with depression to feel themselves that it is something that's legitimate and therefore get the necessary treatment.
A lot of people are feeling depressed and down today at this news. Sello and Charity, thanks very much for talking to us.
Thank you.
Sello, Chicco, Twala, South African Droop and Charity. Now, that's our show for tonight. We end with Double HP's hit, Also Came On.